So my next guest is Dr. Robin Carhart-Harris. He is a research fellow at Imperial College in London, and his specialization is in the field of neuropharmacology. Is that the right word?
Yeah, neuropsychopharmacology.
Neuropsychopharmacology. I know it's a bit of a mouthful.
It's familiar for me, so
familiar.
It's easy.
Okay, so let's do that one. Obviously, we've had some recent news coming from your department concerning breakthroughs in research using LSD.
Yeah.
And psychedelics in general. I think that's your field, mostly of interest. Right. So perhaps you could start by just saying what's come through, what's new, that's exciting.
So the most recent stuff has been our brain imaging work with LSD, using functional magnetic resonance imaging and magnetoencephalography, all big words, to essentially look at how LSD works in the brain. So we're looking at LSD as a tool to perturb consciousness in a profound and novel way, and then looking to glean based on how it alters consciousness, not just things about the nature of the LSD state, but also the nature of the normal state that we've shifted the system from. So it can have quite profound implications in telling us not just about LSD in the psychedelic state, as interesting, at least as far as I'm concerned, as interesting as that is, but also it's telling us about consciousness itself.
And so that begs the question, what does it tell us about consciousness itself?
Yeah, so some of the main findings concern the nature of the communication patterns in the brain. And we see under LSD that there's much more of an open, freer quality of communication across the brain. So in terms of the whole of the brain, so at a global level, we're seeing an increase in global integration. That effect correlates with a particularly interesting aspect of the phenomenology, something that both drug users, psychedelic drug users, but also academics refer to as ego dissolution or ego disintegration, something which is quite abstract and unusual and requires some unpacking, which I could do, but essentially it's the dissolution of that normally quite sort of pervasive, constant, reassuring perhaps, sense of self that we normally have.
How does consciousness figure into physics?
Well, consciousness did not figure in when Isaac Newton, for example, invented modern physics, called classical physics these days. And so consciousness was definitely left out. It was supposed to not be a part of the scheme at all. It was all material and made of little particles that he described. And then in 1900, Max Planck discovered that certain properties of light, in fact, just could not be understood in terms of this particle type nature. And so that was 1900, and physicists struggled on basically for 25 years until Heisenberg came along. And he had a lot of roots in philosophy, actually, and so recognized that the problem was this idea that somehow our conscious perceptions of the world around us were consciousness grabbing what was out there. And he realized that he had to make a distinction between what was out there and our perceptions of it. And our perceptions of it are, of course, existing in our consciousness. And that not only was it not a passive reception of the details of what were out there, but actually that the conscious observer had to enter into the process of forming his perceptions in a way that made him a player in the game. And so that was really a revolutionary idea, and the most revolutionary idea in quantum mechanics, that somehow the observer had to be brought in as not just a passive witness, or a spectator of what's going on, but actually an agent or a player in the game.
Tell us who you are and a little bit about what you're looking forward to here at the conference.
I mean, I think that's exactly the question I'm asking. Who am I, and what am I doing here?
That's who I am, Zen Master Jay, and that's what I'm interested in. Not two and not one.
I'm Dr. Robert Alexander, and I'm from the University of Michigan. I'm working with Hannes Bend. We're using virtual reality and biofeedback to support consciousness, mindfulness, and meditation through deep relaxation.
My name is Dr. Hasmukh Taylor, and I was ex-professor from UCF, University of Central Florida, and I'm here to talk about how this universe we see is a hologram, and how is that connected with consciousness and awareness.
My name is Björn. I'm a PhD student in Oslo in Norway, and I'm here to learn about how the brain states, change when you go from unconscious to conscious states and back again.
My name's Tucker Peck. I'm a clinical psychologist. I run a clinic here in Tucson, and I teach meditation. I'm an adjunct professor at University of Arizona as well.
All right.
I'm Brian Kromenacker. I'm a first-year graduate student here at University of Arizona's psychology program. So just kind of checking things out. I'm interested in phenomenology of effort, effortful processing, that kind of thing. So this is all very interesting to me.
Dave, how is it for you, being not quite on the inside as you were, but perhaps you get a new perspective on things?
Oh, relaxing for me this time. Yeah, I just had to give a talk, and that's it. Of course, I don't fail to take the opportunity to throw in a few comments from the from the sideline. But
you were especially relaxed because you didn't have a lot of coffee.
Exactly. There was we figured that the reason for having no coffee in the coffee breaks is they're trying to turn us all into zombies. It's a massive experiment on zombification. So right now it's Saturday afternoon, and I feel that my consciousness is dwindling.
It's ebbing away.
Yeah. But no, it's been a great time.
Yeah. Is there anything that stood out for you, something that maybe surprised you this week?
Well, there were about 6 sessions on quantum mechanics. I'm trying to figure out why that might be.
As Baba said, it's insider trading. Well, let me address that. It's true that I've been pushing for the quantum approach, not just the quantum approach, but the interneuronal approach. I mean, all the other theories that we heard about, global workspace, IIT, higher order thought, predictive coding, and others are all neural level. They treat neurons as simple bits, on-off states. The brain's a computer, and don't consider the fact that neurons are alive. The brain is a biological system, and what does that mean? And I've always thought that you need to go, A, consider what it means to be alive, B, go inside the neuron, and the information processing in the cytoskeleton, at least the capacity is enormous, and now there's more and more evidence that it's playing a key role. And then you get into the quantum effects, which allow a connection to the universe and a chance to solve the hard problems. So that's why I've been pushing that agenda, and it's true I've been angling over the years to get some of that in, and now a little bit more of it in. But it's not totally insider trading. I think it's warranted. I think a lot of people are coming there. Even Dave has come over to the quantum side, is in the quantum camp, although he's still a bit vague about it. But it's good to have you on board, Dave.
Yeah, well, I guess my line on this stuff is that linking quantum mechanics and consciousness is important, and it's a promising approach. And I'm actually interested in it myself, but it should not be the whole conference. And,
come on, it wasn't the whole conference.
So we got a unique situation here where consciousness studies is meeting sports. So we're here at the tennis courts, and we've got Mark here, Mark Valadares,
yeah.
And you are a tennis pro in Kansas City.
That's
who
correct.
also has a background in neuroscience.
Yes.
And you're organizing a tennis match here, a tennis tournament. So I want to know what's going on here. What's up with this?
Well, this is our first tennis-centric tennis tournament for the Science of Consciousness. This was the brainchild of Abby, and she suggested when I presented an abstract. I've been a long-term attendee of this conference and a student of consciousness, and I felt like my study of consciousness had informed my teaching discipline. I think you have a lot of stuff on the table in terms of the different approaches to consciousness, and there was a presentation on the global neuronal network. You had Hammer off with the idea that the quantum scale, consciousness is there at the quantum scale, and it's like picking up a demo racket, you know, and you can try on these theoretical frameworks as you're playing. My mind tends to gravitate to what might be going on, for example, when you're returning serve, you know, and if the serve is coming at, you know, 130 miles per hour, there isn't that amount of time to actually get the ball back. So, you know, but you can have this sort of qualitative experience if you do succeed at getting it back, you know, and the feeling is one in which you're sort of an observer in your body.
Yeah.
You know, you're aware, but you know, you might be hyperconscious, but the body is kind of reacting to it, you know, and really there might be a sort of optimal state, a proper use of the mind, if you will, to sort of achieve that.
Well, thanks very much for talking with us, and hopefully we'll get a winner here pretty soon. It looks like there's a lot of competition going on.
Yeah, we'll get a couple winners. It's double, so. Yeah.
All right, thanks very much.
I have indeed figured out the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And it is indeed love. Love does make the world go round. Gravity, love. Electricity, love. Magnetism, love. The strong force, love. The weak force, love. Love, love. Could it be more simple? Could it be more obvious? But we don't see it right in front of us all the time. We don't get it. We're looking for something more. But there is nothing more than love. Love is all there is. Love is the driving force of all creation, of physics, of biology, of metaphysics. Pi equals love. Phi equals love. E equals MC squared equals love. It is all love, love, love.
We're going to do a nursery rhyme. Be very afraid.
Simple Simon met a pieman going to the fair. Said Simple Simon to the pieman, "What have you got there?"
And the pieman said, "Well, I'm a pieman. I bake pies. I take the pies out of the oven. I put the pies in the van. I take the pies and I bring them here in the van and put them on this tray. The pies. I sell pies. And you ask me what I've got here. Pies." It was a strange encounter.
Another strange encounter occurred on the way to Tucson. We met a pieman with no shoes on.
We thought that he was slightly weird.
With long grey hair and long grey beard.
And he wore a long pink dress.
And makeup that was all a mess.
Nonetheless, he was alluring.
Confident and reassuring. So catching us with his eye,
he promptly sold us one big pie.
"Tell me, sir, what's it got in it? If you don't tell, I swear I'll bin it." He shifted then from foot to foot, and munching slyly on a nut, confided like an Oxford top.
"It's full of Stuart Hammeroff."
Well, not his body, just his brain. He's got his lips, he's not in pain.
"Hammeroff brain pie," I cried, in alarm.
"No need to worry," he insisted with charm. "We fitted a brain that works quite well.
Except it makes a burning smell.
Every time he sits and thinks, he stops and stares, goes blank and blinks, takes a pen and does some doodles, then prattles on about microtubules."
The pieman paused, then carried on, musing like a Cambridge Don.
"The burning, I suppose, is to do with the cogs which bump and croak like demented frogs. The lubricant just gets far too hot. It starts to smoke, then..."
"Guess what?"
"Steam comes out as it starts to boil."
"And maybe they shouldn't use vegetable oil."
The pieman looked shifty and in distress.
And so I say, "Come on, confess, the whole damn thing is one big lie."
He said, "It's not, just try your pie."
I looked him sideways, up and down, and then conceded with a frown.
Like little Jack Horner, he stuck in his thumb. He then pulled it out, looking quite dumb. He plucked up some courage and looked at his digit. There on the end, not a cog or a widget, but a pure human protein, glistening and sticky. Weaker souls would have felt quite icky. But girding his loins, not conscious of sin, he tasted the produce. It was pure tuberlin. Slightly cooked, with a flavour quite rounded.
Microwaved or ultrasounded.
Could it be that his brain had been fried by all the electrodes that he'd applied? Ultrasound should calm and relax.
Not toast your brain into a lump of hot wax.
Yet, ever since the cerebral replacement, Stu's mind has got stuck in a solid encasement of repetitive babble centered on quanta.
Doesn't it all just make you want to let it all go and stop all the thinking? The pieman by now was shaking and shrinking away from our view, then returned looking wise and pulled from a bag 2 more great big pies.
And then, with enticement, he said in a whisper,
maybe something more tasty, more crusty, and crisper.
Perhaps, if roast Stewart is not quite your thing, some other sweet morsel would surely bring a glint to your eye, sweet scent to your nose. Tell me which one. No, let me propose.
The one on the left, dressed with pyjamas, gustatory delight of delicious chopped charmers.
The one on the right, neath crusty brown ochre, a crispy concoction of deep-fried chopped chopra.
And dare we say, with some trepidation, the latter engaged in deep meditation.
We looked at each other and turned on our heels, running home like greased lightning,
emitting loud squeals.
Much later we mused on our guru's sad fates as we licked the last remnants of stew from our plates.
Do you think they're in heaven, wearing halos and crombies?
Nah, no chance, mate.
They're mechanical zombies.
This is Baba Brinkman, recording live from Consciousness Central, bringing you the Tucson Science of Consciousness info, giving you the essentials to explain what's subjective and sensual, making love to your mental, cause I'm the consciousness nympho. Any theory I'll F with it, whether it's daft or exquisite, whether it's backed by the facts or suffering an evidence deficit. This is Tucson, where the tent is hella broad. It's half science lab and half Burning Man afternoon workshop. Day 1. plenary one. Standahain Keddish kicked it off on the global neuronal workspace and how the system evolved to broadcast information across neocortical space. The same way I'm broadcasting this, achieving fame in your brain. Check the meta context. The parallels are insane. My distributed sensory signal is spreading through your membrane. Consciousness explained via simple rap and rhyming. It doesn't become conscious until it metastasizes. Hence, I'm broadcasting live. You're getting a spike of activation. It doesn't become conscious till hundreds of milliseconds later, and Stan the man can mask it and make sure you forget it. Like a mouse in a maze, hooked up to optogenetics, computational. It's 10 to the 16 operations a second, but according to Stuart Hammerhoff, that's off by like 11 orders of magnitude. It's really 10 to the 27 operations per second in a quantum superposition, so there's no consensus. The conference is gonna fall apart if the theories are not in the same galaxy, never mind ballpark. So let's talk about a theory mostly ignored so far by the mainstream neuroscientists. OR. Take a dose of psilocybin, let go of social approval, and bing, wrap your mind around the molecular structure of tubulin and the fluctuations of benzene pi-electron resonance. Try your best to figure out what its quantum superposition is. Bing, better be quick. It's gonna reverse polarity. It disappears if you stare at it with a heart full of no charity. It's got bing, but it's still too indeterminate to measure. The evolution of life began with primordial proto-pleasure. Darwinians talk about surviving and getting by, but Stewart's theory is more like vibing and getting high. It's about emojis resonating with oscillational sounds. I need a hit. That's some good transcranial ultrasound. Stewart used to have a persecution complex. No one wants me. Lately, he's more like the OR Rocky with the eye of the tiger, baby. Comeback kid cocky. Now that his waveform collapsed into collaborations with Noam Chomsky, but I sense a discrepancy between the sensory data that Stewart gets and the preconceptions etched in his gray matter. He could link quantum gender superposition to cross-dressing. Anil Seth would call it predictive processing. Consciousness is a Bayesian fantasy constrained by reality, which explains Stewart's everything is quantum mentality. He's got a smoke detector that's constantly going off, like a virtual reality set that over-identifies dogs, cause sensory data is noisy and conspicuous, which makes a quantum false alarm seem extremely conspicuous. The question is, will anyone snap him out of his trance? Who's gonna stick a fork in Stewart's rubber hand? God damn, did I go too far? That was mean, that's my nature though. I'm a frickin' beast machine, just ask Anil Seth. That's the animal in man. I predict myself, therefore I am. Tucson, Consciousness Central. Robert Brinkman, wrapping up the plenaries. Peace out.